Hello, everyone, and welcome to English Today Journey. Thank you so much for being here with me. I am really happy that you chose to spend your time listening today. Maybe you are listening while going to work or school. Maybe you are walking outside, or maybe you are at home, sitting quietly with a cup of tea or coffee. No matter where you are or what you are doing, I truly appreciate you being here. Today's episode is very special because we're going to talk about something that is not only important for learning English, but also important for your life. Our topic today is self-love. When people hear the word self-love, they often think about simple things. They may think about saying positive sentences to themselves, buying nice things, or relaxing in a warm bath. Yes, these things can be part of self-love, but real self-love is much deeper than that. It is not just something you do once in a while. Self-love is about how you treat yourself every day. Self-love is about the way you talk to yourself in your mind. It is about the thoughts you have about who you are and what you can do. It is also about how you take care of your feelings, especially when life feels hard or stressful. And let's be honest, life is not always easy. Many days are busy. Many days are full of pressure, stress, and problems. We live in a world where we are always told to do more. We are told to be successful, to work hard, to look good, and to always stay active. Social media, school, family, and work can make us feel like we are never doing enough. We feel like we always have to keep up with others. Because of this, we often forget to stop and ask ourselves important questions. How am I really feeling today? Am I tired? Am I stressed? Am I being kind to myself? These questions are very important, but many people never ask them. This is exactly why self-love matters so much. Self-love does not mean that you think you are better than other people. It does not mean being selfish or only caring about yourself. Self-love simply means that you understand your own value as a human being. It means knowing that you do not need to be perfect to deserve care, respect, and kindness. You are worthy just because you exist. Self-love also means treating yourself the same way you would treat someone you truly care about. You would not speak badly to someone you love, and you would not ignore their feelings. In the same way, self-love means speaking gently to yourself and respecting your own emotions. So, why are we talking about this on an English learning journey? Because learning a language is not only about words and grammar. It is also about confidence, patience, and believing in yourself. And that is where self-love becomes a powerful and important part of your English journey. Here at English Today Journey, my goal is not only to help you practice vocabulary, listening, and pronunciation. I also want to help you grow in confidence. This confidence is not only for speaking English, but also for how you think about yourself, how you speak to yourself, and how you live your daily life. This episode is not only about learning new English words or improving your listening skills. It is also about learning how to be kind to yourself. It is about learning how to speak to yourself in a gentle and caring way, just like you would speak to a close friend who is having a hard time. When a friend is struggling, you do not judge them or make them feel bad. You listen, you support them, and you encourage them. Self-love means doing the same thing for yourself. As you listen to this episode, you will hear natural, everyday English. This is the kind of English people really use in real conversations. I will also ask you some reflective questions. These questions are not tests. There are no right or wrong answers. You can pause the episode whenever you want. You can think quietly about your answers, or you can write them down in a notebook or a journal if that feels helpful to you. There is no need to rush. Learning is not a race. The goal is not to finish quickly. The goal is to grow slowly and steadily, both in your English skills and in your personal life. So now, let's start with a very simple but powerful question. What is self-love? Self-love is a phrase we hear very often, but many people do not really understand what it means. For some people, the idea of self-love even feels uncomfortable. Maybe you grew up hearing that thinking about yourself is selfish. Maybe you were taught that you should always put other people first and ignore your own needs. Because of this, self-love can sometimes feel wrong or strange. But let's look at self-love more clearly, not just as a word, but as a way of living. Self-love means treating yourself with the same respect, kindness, and care that you would give to someone very important to you. It means understanding that you are human. And like all humans, you make mistakes. Everyone does. Making mistakes does not make you weak or bad. Even when you make mistakes, you still deserve patience, understanding, and compassion. Self-love also means knowing your own worth. Your value does not come from your job, your grades, your appearance, your achievements, or how many followers or likes you have online. These things do not define you. Your worth is not something you have to earn. You are valuable simply because you exist. You are already enough, exactly as you are right now. Now, let's talk about something just as important: what self-love is not. Many people misunderstand self-love, and this misunderstanding can stop them from practicing it. That is why it is important to clearly explain what self-love truly means and what it does not mean. Many people misunderstand the idea of self-love. When they hear the word, they think it means being arrogant, selfish, or believing that you are better than other people. Some people think self-love means only caring about yourself and ignoring everyone else. But this is not true at all. That is not what real self-love means. Self-love is not about hurting others or always putting yourself first in a way that causes problems. It is not about saying, "I am perfect and I never need to change." In fact, true self-love is the opposite of that. Real self-love means being honest with yourself. It means admitting that you have weaknesses, mistakes, and areas where you still need to grow. But even when you see these flaws, you still choose to treat yourself with patience, respect, and kindness. Think about this simple example. Imagine you are on an airplane. Before the plane takes off, the flight attendant explains what to do in an emergency. They always say, "Put on your own oxygen mask first before helping others." This advice may sound strange at first. Why help yourself before others? The reason is simple. If you cannot breathe, you will not have the strength to help anyone else. Taking care of yourself first makes it possible to take care of others. Self-love works in the same way. When you care for yourself, you build energy, balance, and inner strength. This strength helps you support the people around you and face the challenges of life. Without self-love, you may feel tired, frustrated, or empty, and it becomes harder to give your best to others. Another common misunderstanding is the idea that self-love means feeling good all the time or always being happy with everything about yourself. But real self-love does not mean pretending that life is perfect. It does not mean ignoring your problems or hiding your pain behind fake smiles. Life can be difficult, and self-love allows you to admit that honestly. Real self-love means accepting your whole self. This includes your strengths, your weaknesses, your successes, and your struggles. It means being able to say, "Yes, I have flaws. Yes, I am still learning. Yes, I am not perfect." And even after saying these things, you still treat yourself with respect and care. When you practice self-love, you do not use your struggles as a reason to judge or hate yourself. Instead, you see them as opportunities to grow. You learn to be patient with yourself, just as you would be patient with a child or a close friend who is learning something new. Here is another image to help you understand. Imagine your mind is like a garden. If you never water the plants, if you only focus on the weeds, the garden will not grow well. But if you take time to care for it, remove the weeds gently, and give attention to the healthy plants, the garden becomes stronger and more beautiful. Self-love is the daily care you give to your inner garden. It helps you grow into a healthier, calmer, and more confident version of yourself. If you never take care of a garden, nothing good will grow there. If you speak negatively to the soil every single day, if you only focus on what is wrong, the plants will slowly die. But if you give the garden sunlight, if you gently remove the weeds, and if you speak words of encouragement, even when the flowers are still small, something beautiful begins to happen. Little by little, the garden starts to grow and become healthy. This is exactly how your inner world works. Your thoughts and feelings are like a garden inside you. Self-love is like watering that garden. The more kindness, patience, and care you give yourself, the stronger and more peaceful your inner life becomes. When you treat yourself gently, you create space for growth, confidence, and calm. Some people think self-love is only about comfort or luxury. They believe it means taking long baths, buying new clothes, or going on expensive trips. These things can be enjoyable, and sometimes they can help you relax. But true self-love goes much deeper than that. It is not about money or material things. It is about how you treat yourself during difficult moments. Self-love is about what you say to yourself when you fail. It is about allowing yourself to rest when you feel tired or overwhelmed. It is about choosing not to compare yourself to others and understanding that your path in life is different from everyone else's. Your journey is unique, and it does not need to look like anyone else's journey to be valuable. One very important thing to remember is this: self-love is not a one-time action. It is not something you do once and then forget about. It is a daily practice. Think about brushing your teeth or drinking water. You do these things every day because they support your health. Self-love works in the same way. It is something you practice again and again. Self-love appears in the small choices you make each day. How do you react when you make a mistake? Do you blame yourself, or do you try to understand and learn? How do you treat your body when it feels tired? Do you listen to its needs? What kind of words do you use when you talk to yourself in your mind? Are those words kind or harsh? These small, quiet moments matter more than you may realize. They shape the relationship you have with yourself. They are more powerful than any big action or special event. Over time, they build the way you see yourself and the way you move through the world. As we continue through this episode, I want you to remember this idea. Self-love is not a luxury. It is a foundation. Just like a house needs a strong base to stand safely, you need self-love to live a healthy, balanced, and meaningful life. And here is the good news. You do not need to be perfect at self-love. You only need to begin one small, kind step at a time. Negative thoughts are like planting weeds in your mind. When you repeat hurtful words about yourself again and again, those words begin to grow stronger. Over time, they take up more space in your thoughts. The more they grow, the harder it becomes to believe anything good about yourself. Even when something positive happens, those negative thoughts can block it. They make you doubt yourself and your worth. Another reason self-love feels difficult is because of past experiences. Many people carry pain from their past without realizing how deeply it affects them. Maybe someone important in your life made you feel small or unimportant. It could have been a parent, a teacher, or a partner. Maybe they criticized you often or expected too much from you. Maybe they made you feel like you were only lovable if you were perfect or if you always put others before yourself. Even if those people are no longer part of your life, their words can still live inside your head. You might hear their voice when you make a mistake or when you try something new. That old pain becomes emotional baggage. It stays with you for years and slowly shapes how you see yourself. You may start believing that you are not good enough, even when there is no real proof. Another powerful influence is society and outside pressure. We live in a world that constantly tells us we are not enough. Advertisements show perfect bodies and perfect faces. Social media shows perfect lives, perfect relationships, and constant happiness. Success is often measured by money, beauty, popularity, or status. When we don't match these images, we begin to feel like we are failing. But it's important to stop and ask yourself some questions. Who decided these rules? Who said this is what success looks like? Why do I feel like I have to prove my worth all the time? These messages are everywhere and they are very strong, but that doesn't mean they are healthy or true. They create quiet pressure that makes it hard to feel okay with just being yourself. Another reason self-love is difficult is the guilt of resting. Think about this for a moment. Have you ever tried to rest but felt uncomfortable doing it? Maybe you sat down, but your mind told you that you should be doing something productive. Maybe you said no to someone to protect your energy, but later felt bad about it. That guilt does not come from nowhere. It often comes from the belief that we must always be busy, always useful, and always available for others. We are taught that resting is lazy and that putting ourselves first is selfish. But the truth is simple and important. Rest is necessary. Rest is not weakness. Taking care of yourself does not mean you are failing. It means you are human. Rest is not laziness. Setting boundaries is not rude. Taking care of yourself is not selfish. These actions are signs of self-respect. And self-respect is an important part of self-love. Many people struggle with self-love and wonder why it feels so difficult. The truth is, it is not just you. It is the result of many things coming together. Negative inner voices, painful past experiences, pressure from society, and habits we repeat every day without noticing. The good news is this. If these beliefs were learned, they can also be unlearned. Nothing about this struggle means you are broken. It simply means you were taught certain ways of thinking. And with time, those ways of thinking can change. That is what this journey is about. Another important reason self-love feels strange is because most of us were never taught how to practice it. Growing up, many families and cultures focused on discipline, responsibility, and sacrifice. These values are not bad. In fact, they can be very helpful. They teach us to work hard, stay strong, and care for the people around us. But the problem begins when these are the only values we learn. When there is no space for kindness toward ourselves, no room for rest, and no permission to be gentle with our own feelings, something important is missing. We learn how to survive, but not how to care for ourselves emotionally. Maybe you learned how to be strong no matter what. Maybe you learned to always help others. Maybe you learned to work hard every single day and never complain. But maybe no one ever showed you how to listen to your own needs or how to treat yourself with compassion. So now, as an adult, when you try to practice self-love, it feels unfamiliar. It feels uncomfortable. It might even feel wrong. That reaction is completely normal. Self-love is like learning a new language. At first, it feels awkward. You don't know what to say or how to act. You worry about making mistakes. You might feel unsure or embarrassed. But just like learning any new skill, it gets easier with time and practice. The most important thing to remember is this. Just because self-love feels difficult does not mean it is impossible. Difficult does not mean wrong. It simply means new. And new things often feel uncomfortable at the beginning. Growth always feels challenging before it feels natural. And every small step you take toward caring for yourself truly matters. Growth always starts with awareness. This means noticing what is happening inside you. When you begin to notice your self-doubt, when you hear negative self-talk, or when you feel pressure to be perfect, that moment is very important. It may not feel good, but it is actually the first step toward change. Once you notice these thoughts, you have a choice. You do not have to believe everything your mind says. You can pause, question it, and choose a different way of thinking. Here is a simple practice you can try. The next time you catch yourself being harsh or critical toward yourself, stop for a moment and ask, would I say this to someone I love? Think about a close friend, a family member, or someone you care deeply about. If the answer is no, then you already know something important. That thought is not kind, and it is not helpful. So change the message. Speak to yourself with more understanding. Support yourself instead of attacking yourself. This is what self-love looks like in real life. This journey is not easy, but it is one of the most important journeys you will ever take. It does not only help with learning or improving skills, but it also affects your whole life. The way you speak to yourself shapes how you feel, how you act, and how you see the world. Now let's talk about something very real that everyone experiences, even if they do not always notice it. The voice inside our head. Sometimes this voice is helpful. It reminds us to prepare, stay focused, and do our best. It can motivate us and push us to grow. But other times, this same voice becomes harmful. This is when it turns into the inner critic. The inner critic is one of the biggest obstacles to self-love. It is the voice that says things like, "You are not good enough. You always mess things up," or "Why even try? You will fail again." This voice often appears when we feel nervous, when we make mistakes, or when we compare ourselves to others. The more we listen to it, the stronger it becomes. The difficult part is that the inner critic can sound logical and convincing. It may seem like it is telling the truth, but in reality, it only focuses on what is wrong. It ignores your strengths and efforts. It brings up old mistakes again and again. Sometimes it even repeats negative words we once heard from other people, like a teacher who doubted us or a parent who expected too much. Over time, this voice can make us feel small and afraid to try. Learning to recognize it is the first step to changing it. When you notice the inner critic, you create space for a new voice to grow, one that encourages you, supports you, and helps you move forward with kindness instead of fear. Let me give you a simple example to understand this better. Imagine you speak English in front of a group for the first time. You feel nervous. Maybe you forget a word. Maybe you say something the wrong way or pronounce a word incorrectly. As soon as it happens, your inner critic appears. It says, "See? You sounded stupid. Everyone noticed. Everyone was judging you. You should have stayed quiet." When you hear this voice, how do you feel? You might feel embarrassed or ashamed. You might feel small and disappointed in yourself. You might even think about giving up and never speaking again. Now stop for a moment and ask yourself something important. Is this voice helping you? Is it making you stronger? Is it helping you learn or improve? Most of the time, the answer is no. Now, imagine a different voice speaking to you. This is the voice of your inner coach. This voice is honest, but it is also kind. It does not pretend that mistakes did not happen. It does not lie to you, but it speaks with support instead of cruelty. Instead of saying, "You sounded stupid," your inner coach might say, "Yes, you made a mistake, but that is part of learning. You are brave to speak in front of others. Every time you practice, you improve. I am proud of you for trying." Can you feel the difference between these two voices? The inner critic makes you feel weak and afraid. The inner coach makes you feel supported and hopeful. Both voices exist inside you. The real question is which one you choose to listen to. Your inner coach might sound like this. "Okay, you made a few mistakes, but that is normal. No one learns without mistakes. You took a risk, and that matters. You are learning step by step, and next time you'll do better." This voice focuses on progress, not perfection. It sees mistakes as part of the journey, not as proof that you are a failure. The inner coach does not ignore reality. It knows mistakes happened, but it does not use them to hurt you. Instead, it uses them to help you grow. It encourages you to keep going, even when things feel uncomfortable. The difference between the inner critic and the inner coach is very powerful. The inner critic holds you back. It fills you with fear and doubt. It makes you afraid to try again. The inner coach helps you move forward. It is built on self-respect, patience, and care. Here is the truth. Both voices live inside every person. You cannot completely remove the inner critic, but you can choose not to follow it. Each time you notice it, you can pause and gently choose the voice of the inner coach instead. And every time you do that, you take one small but important step towards self-love and growth. You cannot completely erase your inner critic, and maybe you don't need to. The important thing is that you can choose which voice you listen to more often. You can decide to follow the inner coach instead of the inner critic, even if the critical voice never fully disappears. Let me share a personal story to show how this works. A few years ago, I started creating podcast episodes like this one. At first, I felt very unsure of myself. My inner critic was extremely loud. It said things like, "Your voice doesn't sound good enough. Your English isn't perfect. Who even wants to listen to you?" Those thoughts were discouraging. Honestly, they made me want to give up before I even began. But then I made a conscious choice. I reminded myself to turn up the volume on my inner coach instead. That voice said, "You're not doing this to be perfect. You're doing this to help people. You are learning as you go. Even if your message only reaches one person, that person might really need it." Just that small shift in thinking made a huge difference. It gave me courage to continue. And now I'm still learning, still growing, and still showing up. The lesson is clear. You don't need to completely silence your inner critic. That may not even be possible. What you can do is recognize it and understand that its words are not facts. When the harsh voice appears, pause and ask yourself, is this voice helping me or hurting me? If it is hurting you, then it is time to turn its volume down and turn up the voice of your inner coach instead. That is how self-love begins to grow. So, how do you build your inner coach? One very powerful way is to speak to yourself the way you would speak to a close friend. Imagine someone you care about is going through the same struggle you are. Would you call them a failure? Would you criticize them harshly? Of course not. You would remind them of their courage, effort, and progress. You would support them and encourage them to keep going. Now, give yourself that same support. Speak kindly, encourage yourself, and notice your small wins. It is important to understand that this will not happen overnight. Strengthening your inner coach takes practice and consistency. At first, it might feel awkward or strange, but little by little, your inner coach will grow louder and stronger. Over time, it will become natural to encourage and support yourself. When that happens, self-love starts to feel easier and more comfortable. You begin to trust yourself, value your efforts, and handle challenges with more patience. Every step you take toward listening to your inner coach is a step toward a kinder, more confident, and more self-respecting you. When you strengthen your inner coach, something important happens. You are no longer fighting against yourself. Instead, you are standing with yourself, supporting yourself like a friend. The next time you feel afraid, embarrassed, or not good enough, pause for a moment and ask, who is speaking right now? My inner critic or my inner coach? Then choose the voice that helps you move forward, not the one that keeps you stuck in fear or doubt. Now, let's look at some small but powerful acts of self-love. One of the most important and sometimes hardest is learning to say no. For many people, especially those who want to be kind and helpful, saying no feels uncomfortable. We worry about hurting someone's feelings or seeming selfish or rude. So we often say yes, even when we are tired, even when we don't have the energy, and even when it's bad for us. Here's the truth. Saying no can be one of the most loving things you do. Not just for yourself, but for the people around you. When you take care of your needs first, you are stronger, calmer, and more present for others later. For example, imagine it's Friday night and you have had a long, exhausting week. All you want is rest, maybe to sleep early, relax, or just have quiet time. Then a friend invites you to go out. Of course, you want to see them, but deep down, you know your mind and body need rest. In this moment, self-love might look like this. I'd love to see you, but I really need to rest tonight. Let's meet another day when I have more energy. That simple sentence protects your peace, your health, and your happiness. It shows respect for yourself and your needs. Another small but powerful act of self-love is resting without guilt. Many of us grow up believing we must always be busy, always doing something, always producing or achieving. If we sit down, take a nap, or do nothing for a while, we feel guilty as if we are wasting time. But you are not a machine. You are human. Humans need rest. Rest is not laziness. Rest is a way to recharge, to take care of your mind and body, and to prepare yourself to live fully and kindly. Learning these small acts of self-love, saying no, resting, and choosing your inner coach, might feel strange at first. But each time you practice, it becomes easier. You begin to treat yourself with respect and care. You start to feel more confident, calmer, and happier. And over time, these small steps add up. Self-love becomes a habit, not a struggle. You realize that taking care of yourself is not selfish. It is necessary. It is kind. It allows you to show up fully in life, for yourself and for the people you care about. Rest is a basic need for everyone. Think about your phone for a moment. When the battery is low, do you feel guilty about charging it? Of course not. You just plug it in because you know it cannot work without energy. Your body and mind are the same. They need time to recharge. Taking a nap, going for a quiet walk, stretching, or even sitting in silence for a few minutes are not signs of weakness. They are signs of wisdom. They show that you respect your limits and want to take care of yourself. Another important act of self-love is setting boundaries. A boundary is a line that protects your time, your space, and your emotions. Setting a boundary is not about being rude or mean. It is about being clear about what you need. For example, imagine someone at work always talks to you during your lunch break. Every time this happens, you feel stressed because you don't get the rest you need. A simple boundary could be, "I'm happy to talk later, but I need to take my full break today to recharge." That is not rude. That is self-love. Boundaries help others understand how you want to be treated. They also remind you that your well-being matters. Self-love also shows up when you notice and celebrate your progress, even if it seems small. Maybe today you listened to an English podcast and understood almost everything without pausing. That is progress. Maybe you spoke up in a meeting, even though you were nervous. That is courage. Maybe you finally started a project you had been afraid of. That is a victory. These little wins are important, even if they don't seem huge. Often, we skip over them because we think only big achievements matter. But every step counts. Self-love is noticing these steps and being proud of them, even if no one else sees them. Self-love can also appear in ordinary, everyday choices. Preparing a healthy meal for yourself, going to bed on time, drinking enough water, or taking a short walk. These small acts show that you care about yourself. They remind you that your body and mind matter. You are worth this care. You are worth small, consistent actions that help you feel better and stay healthy. The key idea is this: self-love is not about big gestures or perfection. It is about noticing what you need, protecting your energy, celebrating your progress, and making choices that respect yourself. It grows through small, repeated actions. Each time you rest without guilt, set a boundary, celebrate a win, or take care of your body, you are practicing self-love. Over time, these small steps add up, helping you feel stronger, more confident, and more connected to yourself. Self-love becomes part of your life, not just a goal you hope to reach. Self-love can show up in small, everyday actions. Drinking enough water, taking a short break from social media when it starts to make you feel bad, or even just going for a short walk. These are not dramatic or expensive actions, but they send a powerful message. I care about myself. When you repeat these small acts often, they gradually build a stronger, kinder relationship with yourself. Over time, caring for yourself becomes natural, not forced. Another important part of self-love is the way you speak to yourself. Even when no one else is listening, the words you say in your mind have a real effect. Choosing kind and supportive thoughts like, "I'm doing my best," "It's okay to make mistakes," "I'm learning," or "I am improving," are acts of self-love. You don't even need to say them out loud. Simply thinking them can change your mood, increase your confidence, and improve your attitude. So here's a question for you. What is one thing you could do today to take care of yourself? Not just physically, but emotionally as well? Maybe it's turning off your phone an hour earlier tonight to rest your mind. Maybe it's finally starting that book you've been curious about. Maybe it's as simple as sitting quietly, closing your eyes, and taking 5 deep breaths. Whatever it is, remember this: it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real. Self-love doesn't grow from one big, dramatic action. It grows from many small actions repeated over time. The more you practice these small acts, the more natural they feel. And each time you act with care, you are reminding yourself of something powerful. I matter too. I am worth care. I am worth kindness. I am worth love. Every step you take, no matter how small, adds up. Even reflecting on yourself, listening to your feelings, and thinking about ways to care for yourself is an act of self-love. Simply being aware and willing to grow shows that you value yourself. Step by step, these choices shape your mindset, your confidence, and the way you experience the world. So far, we've talked about what self-love means and how it can appear in simple, everyday actions. But now it's time to go a little deeper. There is something that shapes almost everything else in your journey of self-love: your mindset. The thoughts you hold, the ways you respond to challenges, and the small beliefs you carry about yourself guide how you treat yourself every day. Mindset and consistency are the foundations of self-love. When you choose to be consistent, when you repeatedly care for yourself and speak kindly to yourself, you train your mind to see that you are valuable, worthy, and capable of growth. The fact that you are here, reading, reflecting, and learning how to take better care of yourself is already a big step. It is a sign that you are willing to invest in yourself, to show up for yourself, and to grow. Every small choice you make, resting when you are tired, speaking kindly to yourself, setting boundaries, celebrating little wins, is part of building a stronger, more loving relationship with yourself. Self-love is not just a goal. It is a journey, one step at a time, one small action after another. What is mindset? Your mindset is simply the way you think about yourself, your abilities, and your life. You can think of it like the lenses in a pair of glasses. You wear these lenses all the time, and they affect how you see the world and how you see yourself. The way you think about your abilities, challenges, and mistakes shapes how you feel and act every day. Psychologists often talk about two main types of mindset: the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. A fixed mindset is when you believe that your qualities like intelligence, talent, or personality are fixed and cannot really change. For example, someone with a fixed mindset might think, "I'm just bad at languages," or "I always fail at relationships. That's just who I am." When you think this way, self-love becomes very difficult.
Why?
Because if you believe you cannot grow or improve, every mistake feels like proof that you are not good enough. Instead of helping yourself after a mistake, you judge yourself. And judgment does not heal, it only hurts. On the other hand, a growth mindset is when you believe you can learn, improve, and grow over time, even if it takes effort. With this mindset, failure is not the end of the story. Mistakes are not proof that you are broken, they are lessons. Someone with a growth mindset might say, "I didn't do well this time, but I can learn and get better," or "This is hard, but I am getting stronger every day." A growth mindset does not ignore problems or make life seem easy. It simply leaves room for patience, compassion, and change. When you believe you can grow, you naturally treat yourself with more kindness. You give yourself the same patience and encouragement you would give a child who is learning something new. That patience, support, and understanding toward yourself is a form of self-love. Now, let me ask you a question. The last time you made a mistake, what did you say to yourself? Did you think, "I'm hopeless"? Or did you think, "I can learn from this and do better next time"? Which mindset did you use? The answer matters because the way you respond to yourself shapes how much self-love you feel. When you adopt a growth mindset, you understand that mistakes and challenges are part of learning and growing. You stop seeing yourself as fixed or limited. You begin to see yourself as someone who is capable of change, learning, and improvement. And when you see yourself this way, self-love becomes easier. You are kinder to yourself. You are more patient with your struggles. You are more willing to try again and keep going, even when things are difficult. Self-love and mindset are deeply connected. A growth mindset gives self-love room to grow. It helps you treat yourself gently, forgive yourself for mistakes, and see every effort you make as valuable. The more you practice thinking in this way, the more natural it becomes to support yourself, celebrate your progress, and continue growing every day. The way you respond to mistakes shows a lot about your mindset. If, after a mistake, you think, "I'll try again," it shows that you are giving yourself room to grow with love instead of crushing yourself with judgment. This is an important skill for self-love. Another key part of self-love is consistency. Many people give up on taking care of themselves or improving their lives because they feel they have to be perfect. They think, "If I can't do it perfectly, there's no point." But self-love is not about perfection. It is about repetition. It is about showing up for yourself over and over, even in small ways. Consistency simply means doing something regularly, even if it is not perfect, even if it is small. For example, imagine you decide to practice English every day for just 10 minutes. Some days everything feels easy and you feel confident. Other days you are tired, distracted, or unmotivated. You might not do it perfectly, but if you continue to practice every day, something powerful happens, you improve. The same is true for self-love. You do not need to wait for a perfect moment to take care of yourself. You do not need a whole free day or complete energy or a perfect plan. You just need to take one small step again and again. That step could be resting when you are tired. It could be speaking kindly to yourself after a mistake. It could be drinking a glass of water when you feel too busy to care. These actions are not dramatic, but when repeated, they add up. Over time, they create a steady foundation of self-respect. Consistency teaches your mind and body that you can trust yourself. You will show up for yourself not just once, not only when it is easy, but again and again. That is how habits of self-love are formed. It is not about doing everything perfectly. It is about progress, not perfection. Sometimes you might skip a day or forget a small promise you made to yourself. A perfectionist mindset would say, "See, you failed. You can't do this right." But a growth mindset responds differently. It says, "It's okay. Today didn't go as planned, but I can try again tomorrow." Self-love grows when you give yourself permission to continue, even when things go wrong. It grows when you celebrate the effort, not just the result. Think of self-love as a small, steady river. Each kind action, each choice to care for yourself, each moment of patience adds water to the river. One small step may not feel like much, but over time, it becomes strong and powerful. Consistency is the riverbank that guides it. It shapes the flow of your self-respect and confidence. The more often you show up for yourself, the stronger you feel. The stronger you feel, the easier it is to act with love, patience, and kindness toward yourself, even in difficult moments. Sometimes, when we make a mistake or forget to do something, our mind can be very harsh. It might say, "You'll never get it right. Just give up." That voice can feel convincing, but it tears you down. A self-loving, consistent mindset says something very different. It says, "Okay, I missed a day. That's fine. I'll try again tomorrow." See the difference? One voice judges and criticizes. The other lifts you up gently, patiently, and with kindness. This is the heart of self-love. One of the most helpful ideas to carry with you is this: progress, not perfection. Perfection is an illusion. It does not really exist. It is just an idea in our heads, a moving target that we can never actually reach. If you try to chase perfection, you will always feel behind, always feel like you are failing. But progress is real. Progress is every small step you take forward. Progress can be simple. It can be understanding one more English sentence than yesterday. It can be pausing before being hard on yourself and choosing kinder words instead. It can be resting when your body and mind feel tired, or saying no when you need to protect your time and energy. Progress is about noticing growth, celebrating small wins, and showing up for yourself consistently. Self-love grows when you keep showing up for yourself, not only when things are easy, but also when life is messy, when mistakes happen, and when you feel tired. Self-love is not about doing everything perfectly. It is about staying with yourself, choosing to keep going even when it is hard, and treating yourself with patience and understanding. Think about your own mindset right now. Do you give yourself space to grow, or do you judge yourself every time something goes wrong? This question is important because your mindset shapes your self-love. When you focus on progress instead of perfection, you notice your efforts and your courage. You begin to appreciate the journey, not just the final result. Now, consider one small thing you could do regularly to support your progress. It could be journaling for a few minutes each day. It could be taking 5 minutes of quiet time to breathe and reflect. Maybe it's listening to this podcast or reading something that helps you grow. These actions do not have to be perfect. They only need to be real and consistent. Every small, repeated action is a step forward. Every kind thought you speak to yourself, every moment you care for your body or mind, builds a stronger relationship with yourself. Self-love grows gradually, like planting seeds. You water them every day with small acts, and over time, they grow into something strong and lasting. Remember this phrase: progress, not perfection. Let it guide you when things feel hard. Let it remind you that growth is about trying, learning, and showing up, not about being perfect. With patience, consistency, and small, loving actions, you can change how you feel about yourself. You can learn to treat yourself with the same care, kindness, and patience you would give to someone you love. Step by step, day by day, you grow. That is how we learn to love ourselves.